Hello, and welcome to the Hypno Travelers on the Magical Psyche Highway podcast. That's right. Your host and tour guide is Scott Prevet, a healer, hypnotist, and a magician. And your bus driver is Jason Gobelli, also a hypnotist, an entrepreneur, and a spiritual guide. Disclaimer, neither Jason, Scott, or any of our guests here today are licensed professional psychologists or psychiatrists. So please don't make any changes to any medication or treatments that you are currently on based on the conversation that you hear here today. Just hop on the bus and enjoy the ride. Trip with us on the Inner Revelation bus. That's right.
Hey, and welcome back to the Hypno Travelers on the Magical Psyche Highway. I'm Jason, and we got a great guest today. We're really excited today, aren't we, Scott?
Yeah, buddy.
Yes. So let's welcome, of course, the big Scott Sandland. Scott, it's a pleasure to have you here. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I don't know if I'm the big Scott, but I'm glad to be here.
Welcome.
Well, Scott, me and Scott are short guys, so you got it there. So, hey.
I'll be the big Scott and he can be Sir Scott. That seems fair.
That's right. He's Sir Scott. There we go. Listen, so let's start right off the bat. Tell us about who you are and what you're all about.
Okay. So who I am, I'm Scott Sandland. As it relates to this conversation, I'm the founder of HypnoThoughts Live, which is the world's largest hypnosis conference. My background's as a clinician. I did private practice for 25 years, spent 17 of that working in clinical environments. So that's doctor's office, dentist's office, drug rehab centers, things like that, where I was an on-staff hypnotherapist. But like who I really am, I'm a disruptor. Like I really like disrupting things. I really like tweaking things, and I really like trying to make the world better. So hopefully I'm a positive disruptor. And that's really how I see myself. I like to innovate, I like to break, I like to challenge, I like to try, I like to tinker, and I like to help people in the process.
Nice.
Awesome.
Wonderful. Well, you do help a lot of people, but listen, when did you get that like aha moment that, you know what, I can really help people and help change lives? When did that come in? How did that happen?
This sounds, I don't know if you've heard this from other of our colleagues and friends, like I genuinely don't understand how anybody would have a life plan that doesn't put helping people in the front. Like, I know that there's a lot of people who like to do other things, and I respect that my model of the world isn't like everybody else's. But fundamentally, as a child, I wanted a job where I helped people. I just love the idea of telling stories and helping people. And so I've always wanted that. And when I found early, I was 17 years old, 18 years old, I found hypnotherapy and hypnosis, and I said, this does it for me. And so I was early doing client work. I mean, I was hypnotizing teachers' family members as a kid because I got good at an early age because I didn't have any limiting beliefs.
Wow, that's beautiful. So tell us one of those stories. That sounds very interesting.
I mean, off the top of my head, I can think of I had a professor my freshman year of college whose husband had cancer and was in quite a bit of pain, of just, chronic pain. And she said, can you help? And I was hypnotizing people all over the place at that point. My freshman year of college, I probably hypnotized 1,000 people, 2,000 people that year. And so it was just kind of a known thing about me. And she said, can you help my husband? I said, sure. I was a freshman, right? I was a kid. But I went to her house, hypnotized her husband, helped get him out of pain. And that really shifted things. Because before that, I was doing a lot of college freshman-y stuff. So that's stage-related stuff in a dorm room. That's do a stage show at a frat party. Very much that kind of stuff. And that was one of the early moments where I really got to help a person who needed it. And that kind of pulled me in this direction of helping study groups be de-stressed, helping friends or their boyfriends or girlfriends, with whatever they had going on. And that really just started pulling me in this direction as a kid. So that's kind of how I got into it real early.
Well, it sounds like that really touched your heart and was a big moving event with that patient, with that client. And
Yeah.
so now my next question is you created HypnoThoughts. So that's a large, how did that happen? How did that come about?
So I started a thing called hypnothoughts.com, which no longer exists, but it was the world's largest resource for hypnotists. It was huge. Thousands of hypnotists came every day, like 5,000 hypnotists would come in a couple of days to chat with each other and talk to each other. It was incredible. And it came because there were things called Yahoo groups, and they still kind of exist, but that's really what there was. And Facebook didn't exist yet. MySpace had just started. And I said, we should have the technology of, we should be able to put videos. We should be able to have live chat. We should be able to have all these things. And Yahoo groups were just discussion forums. And so I said, let's just put all this stuff together and make a better thing. And we did. And we made a better thing, made it free for everybody. And one of my mentors actually had passed away right around that time, and so I wrote a eulogy to her, and just posted it on this thing that nobody used. But you didn't post on Facebook; it hadn't been invented yet. MySpace was kind of there, but I said, "Hey, here's a place for all of us to just say something nice about Janet," and a dozen people kind of came and posted something nice about Janet, and we just started talking. And I really believed someday I could get 200 to 500 members on this site. And I was like, I could get 500 members someday. And then we started getting 200 new members every month. And we did that for 4 years. And so 4 consecutive years, we had 50 consecutive months of 200-person growth. And so we just grew up to, having 25,000 people on the site. And that turned into, well, now what? Let's create a conference. And so we put together a conference, and now we have what's become the world's largest hypnotherapy conference in the world. It's an amazing culture and community that we have of really, really great people.
Well, we're certainly excited about coming there this year. We think it's going to be phenomenal. We're excited. You said you got some new stuff coming on. So tell us a little bit about this, what we have forward to look for, what we look forward to.
Yeah, so we do new stuff every year. One of the things, so I've been to over 50 hypnosis conferences. I've been on boards of multiple, I've given keynotes, received awards. I think conferences are an important part of our industry, especially considering how alone we all are. Seeing clients it can get lonely because no one's asking about you, right? So you do a 50-minute clinical hour, that person's out the door, the next person's in the elevator on the way up. You do that 4 or 5 times a day. You've been with people, but you didn't get felt. And so a big part of what we're doing at HypnoThoughts Live is creating opportunities for us to really bond with each other, to really audience each other, and to appreciate each other. And we don't get that as much as I think we all want. And so one of the things that we've been doing at HypnoThoughts for 11 years is we make little changes every year to try to just make the conference better. And so easy examples, we've always fed our people. We've provided 3 lunches for the first 10 years. We gave lunch for free for everybody just to get them all in the same room. And we do things like that. This year, we're going to put $100 on your food and beverage credit on your hotel room. So you can buy drinks for friends, you can buy dinner, you can, do whatever you need to do to create that community. One of the things we're doing this year is we're going to have fun theme parties in we're going to have a dedicated social area just for fun, just for bonding. And we're going to have costume parties. And one of the reasons we do costume parties is then it makes the big deal names seem approachable. So if people who've been on your podcast, Mike Mandel or Kaz Riley or whoever it is, Chris at Bowman, you get these people who are presenters, they're important, attendees flew across the world to go meet these people. And one of your first interactions with them, they're dressed up like an idiot. I think that's fantastic because that means it takes them down to be a peer. It takes them down. And all of a sudden, the pretense of you're more important and I have to treat you with reverence goes away and we can be colleagues. So our name tags don't have any oh, this is a presenter, this is a vendor. There's no status. The only status we have is this is my first time at the conference. And we put that on your badges so that everybody can be more welcoming to you and help get you plugged in. But besides, this is my first time here, there is no status. And everybody comes to play that way, and everybody buys into that ethos. And so nobody wants to be important. Everybody wants to be fun and happy and helpful. And that's the culture that we keep iterating to improve on. And we're really lucky that, number one, the attendees support us in these trials, because we try stuff that doesn't work sometimes. And everyone goes, hey, it was a good try. Like last year, one of the things we added was a self-care room. So free massages, free Reiki, Qigong, aromatherapy, all for free. We're doubling down on that and making that room about 2.5 times bigger this year because people liked it so much. And so we will have all day at the conference, just come on in and get a 5 or 10 minute back massage on us. And we've got a really cool thing going there with, like, Sandra Grace and her people have been wonderful about volunteering in that room. So those are the kinds of things we do to make it more than just sitting in classes. We really create a nightlife. We really create culture. We really create an opportunity that you can't get anywhere else.
Nice, nice.
Awesome.
So now listen, we interviewed Tim Scher, and he said that when he had these mentors, they were just like human beings, just like us. And Tim said that's the thing. When you have a mentor, you see that they're normal, they're human, and they have flaws just like the rest of us. So speaking of the mentors, and speaking of what you just said, who are some of the people that have been mentors for you that you've really looked up to and helped you in your career?
Sure. Well, first, Tim's awesome. The success rate of smart things that come out of that guy's mouth is just really, really high. I have just a ton of respect for Tim Scher. So just want to say that. Important mentors in my career. I think the easy one that everybody who knows me knows is Michael Ellner. That guy has been really influential in my career. Quite a few of my other mentors are outside of the industry. So, dentists and psychotherapists and people like that who've helped me as well and taught me things. But within the industry, I would say Michael Ellner has been a huge one for me. I'd like to actually give credit to Richard Nongard. He's more a friend than a mentor. I think he'd agree with that. But I think one of the things that Richard Nongard did for me relatively early in my career was he gave me the opportunity to give a keynote presentation. And I had just come from another conference. Without getting into all the details, I felt kind of overlooked at this other conference. And, my ego and feelings had been a little bit bruised. And the next conference I went to was Richard Nongard's, it was called the Dallas Hypnosis Convention, because it was in Dallas. And he asked me to give the keynote. And it went well. And so that was this opportunity where someone asked me to step up into a larger game. And someone, said, you can do this. And don't wait for someone to give it to you. Take this. And he really pushed me to take opportunities. And that allowed me to be more assertive with what I'm doing with HypnoThoughts.
Nice. Nice. Yeah. So that's wonderful. And so let's take it another step further. Now you've talked to all these people, and you have all these people that you've interviewed or have come into HypnoThoughts. And I'm sure, since a lot of them disagree, there's some different people with different modalities. So
Sure.
How do you feel about that, bringing the different modes in and the different people in together? How's that working out?
It's critical. It's one of the most important parts of the conference. So hypnothoughts.com was built on the idea that we should have a level playing field. We should just say everybody gets to talk, everybody gets to listen, and it'll be a meritocracy. And so the website started that way. The social network really started that way. And the conference has come that way too. I would say there are a dozen talks at HypnoThoughts this year that I actively disagree with. I'm not sure. I think it's wrong. And I picked it. Like I want to be really clear about that. There are talks at HypnoThoughts that represent things that I would never, ever, ever do with my clients. But they're still valid schools of thought. And there are people helping people with these techniques. And just a lazy example is I'm not a past life regression guy. I'm just not. My guess is it's probably Jungian archetypes, but I don't really have a strong vote on that either. Like, I don't really know. And maybe it's real. I mean, maybe Buddhism is right. I have no, like, maybe Hinduism is right. I don't know. You know, I know as much as everybody else, but past life regression helps people. And so we should make sure that we have the opportunity to create a space where that can be discussed intelligently, including by skeptics. And as long as everyone's respecting each other and everyone's giving each other space to share their concepts, all of these ideas should be able to be held up into the light. And so we have 20% of our presenters every year are first-time presenters. And we've done that since the beginning. We really want to make sure it's not an echo chamber. We really want to make sure it's not just everybody giving the same talk they gave before, and it's like all just buddies, you know, just good old boys. We wanted to really make sure 20% of our presenters were new, and then their talks were new. And pushing that much new stuff every year through the conference means every year there will be a few talks that will definitely not get invited back. You know, like we miss. And we've got a culture of people who say, look, there are 200 and something talks being given at HypnoThoughts Live, 200 lectures. They're all free. Once you walk in the door, you can just walk in and out of any talk. And because you get to do that, there's going to be some you dislike. There's going to be some you disagree with, but there are going to be some that change your mind, and there'll be some that change your career. And that is way better than playing it safe and being stale.
You know, and there might even be some that change our lives, right? So,
Absolutely. I mean, I've had life-changing conversations at hypnotherapy conferences, quite a few that change the way I interact with friends, like not professional stuff, like how I interact with my family can be changed by conversations I have with friends of mine, you know, at a banquet table.
and speaking of changing lives, that's kind of what we're about here. We're about people helping people. And so we're about alternative methods of healing. So sometimes hypnosis is, not sometimes, hypnosis is great, but there's other things out there that can help change lives that can be very, very powerful. So what besides hypnosis has been real powerful for you or people that you look toward learning from?
Sure. So obviously, you're absolutely right. You know, hypnosis is great, and it's not the only thing in the world. And there's that old expression, when the only tool you have is a hammer, everything starts looking like a nail. And so we want to expose people to new ideas, not because they'll necessarily use them, but because then you know about them, and maybe you refer out, or maybe you just have more insightful conversations about options with a client. So we have people doing stuff on EMDR, which is pretty darn cool. We have, like I said, Qigong, yoga, these kinds of things are talked about, demonstrated, lectured. We have hands-on on those kinds of things, stuff like that. Psychedelics, we have a couple talks on that as well. We've had great response from how we are approaching that, and we pushed the envelope a little bit compared to a lot of the other conferences. And so psychedelics, sexuality, these kinds of topics that a certifying body might want to steer clear of, we can kind of lean into. And so that's how we get, you know, Kaz Riley or people like that some of the other conferences might not take a risk on. We will.
Nice. Well, now that we're on your magical psyche highway, what are some of these roads that you like to travel on?
For myself, for my clients,
For you.
For me, okay. So for me, the stuff that I like to do is I like to swim. I know this sounds boring compared to everything else, but swimming is sensory deprivation for me. And it always has been. And it's this real special time where when you're in the water, you don't weigh anything. No one can talk to you. The only sounds are basically the sounds you're making by moving through the water. And you have all the time in the world to just process. And you're not, you're just looking down at the bottom of a pool. and getting tired and feeling endorphins. And for me, swimming as close to every day as possible is a really important part of my mental health. I know that sounds boring. I've done self-hypnosis for years. I used to make MP3s for myself, and just record it into a mic on my computer or my phone and then play it back for myself. Things like that. I still have a few of those. So that idea of that kind of mindfulness thing. I'm not an app guy in terms of like listening, like having like Headspace or one of those apps that like requires me to check in every 20 minutes every day or anything like that. That, that I think it's a great idea, just it hasn't connected with me. So more of my stuff is high quality conversations with smart people in solitary confinement in underwater. And those two things are the sort of the two-step dance that I go back and forth on, where I'll have a conversation, get enough that I can process it, and then get underwater and do deep work.
Nice, nice. That sounds wonderful. Now, here's another good question for you. So, how has the man who started those Yahoo groups changed from the man you are today as a result of all that stuff?
I'm in a lot of ways, I mean, a lot of people have known me. It's actually really cool. So I've been in the industry for 25 years and I'm 43. So, I've been in the industry for over half my life. And it's been really cool to have people get to watch me grow up. And when I started, I was the kid, and they all called me the kid. And I would go to hypnosis conferences where I wasn't even allowed in the bar, and so they would have to like have a couple people in the restaurant area just so I wouldn't be lonely. And and obviously it evolved. And and now I'm married, I'm a father, I'm at a completely different stage of life. That's wonderful. But I would say the thing that's changed is this might sound arrogant, forgive me if it does, but I've seen it all. I've had every client session you could possibly have. I've had 30,000 client hours. I've worked in drug rehab centers with convicted murderers. Like I've had to be interviewed by the FBI about clients. Like that side of things, been there, done that. Clients showing up on drugs, clients throwing other humans into my office against their will. I've seen it all. And then on the conference side, I've been to over 50 hypnosis conferences. I've had every conversation you're going to have with another hypnotist. And from every role, I've been literally the guy in the back of the room being a room monitor as a volunteer because I was too poor to afford a ticket to the conference that I wanted to go to. So I was volunteering. I've been in storage offices getting dirty and sweaty so that other people can have a better conference. I've been on boards that decide who gets chosen. I've been on boards of directors and all the things. So I've had all the jobs and I've been talked to by all the other roles. And so the advantage I have and the sort of the perspective I have at HypnoThoughts Live is I can relate. Whatever you got, whatever story you got, I've been successful. I've been unsuccessful. I've had things really crush it and be amazing. I've had things fail around me and on top of me. And there's patience that comes with that. And there's an appreciation and understanding that comes with that makes it hard to stress me out. And so I can have grace and patience with all our attendees and our presenters and all that stuff. Because, there's 1,000 of them. And so you get 1,000 hypnotists under one roof, it's going to get weird. And it's gotten weird for me for 25 years. And so it's familiar. And so I get to be the guy who's been there, done that, and gets to have the calm conversations and also have amazing people like Carm or Shelley Stockwell or people who've been running conferences longer than I have, who I can go ask questions to. And they love me and look out for me and give me wonderful advice, whether I want it or not, to pay it forward.
Nice. So now that you've been to so many conferences and you've heard so many presenters, who are some of your favorites?
Um, that's really, that's a scary question. Who are my favorite presenters? So my answer is what I like about different presenters. A lot of people have heard me say this. Sean Michael Andrews has the best fundamentals in this industry. And Sean Michael Andrews giving a presentation, if you've been in the industry for 20 years and you don't know what you should go see right now, and Sean is teaching, you will learn from Sean. If you've been in the industry for 20 years and you watch Sean Michael Andrews and don't see something new, you weren't paying attention. The guy's doing the details, the tiny things. He ties his shoes right. Like everything about that guy, he's crafted. So that's one side of the spectrum. The other side of the spectrum is people like Martin Peterson, who, and I say this with a lot of respect, who don't prepare as much. They have a plan and they have content, but they walk in and they don't know what they're going to do first until they see the whites of their eyes, and they're calibrating their audience. I've loved watching David Snyder just because he and I grew up together in the industry, and watching him become exactly what he wants to be is really cool. We were having conversations in coffee shops and parking lots at 10 o'clock at night. And he would say, this is what I want to be. This is my vision. This is who I want to be. And I would say, I want something else. And he wanted A and I wanted B. And we both got to where we want to be. And he got his A and I got my B. And so watching someone go through that path parallel to you is really satisfying. But then there's obviously the experts. There's the Melissa Tiers and the Freddie Jackwins and the Mike Mandells. I think Mike is really effortless in what he does. And I like the effortlessness with which he works. But yeah, I could go on with 100 other people that I like watching. But ultimately, right now, what I like is looking for specific things in their work, and looking for what's making them difference. Kaz, her vulnerability, and how much she's just so open is really cool. The amount of work that Ken Guzzo gives to his students is really cool. Victoria Gallagher is so prepared. I could genuinely do, off the top of my head, I could tell you 50 to 60 presenters right now and things I love about what they're doing. Scott Schmerin, by the way. Scott Schmerin and Brandon Dean and Nick Eli are three guys that if you haven't seen what they're doing, you really need to pay attention to them. Brandon Dean, Nick Eli, and Scott Schmerin. Scott's been on the Howard Stern show, I don't even know how many times. I mean, half a dozen. Getting on the Howard Stern show once is hard but doable. Anybody can get lucky. He gets brought back because he crushes it, and all his clients are remote now, and he's built a totally different business for himself. Brandon Dean and Nick Eli are just thoughtful about stuff that is underrepresented and under-discussed. But they're bringing out perspective that I think a lot of hypnotists should hear. So that's very stream of consciousness, and I'm certain I left people out that I shouldn't have. And Shelley Stockwell is going to be mad at me for doing what I just did because she hates that I say the names of some of my friends. And she's right, by the way, I shouldn't, but I can't help myself.
That was a loaded question. I knew that was coming.
But I'll answer anything you ask. I'm not going to duck a question.
Scott, we love you. But I wanted to ask Scott if he had something he wanted to ask you.
HypnoThoughts is huge. You've got so many presenters. You've got so many things going on at the same time. So my biggest question is, what do you look forward to every year?
My favorite part of HypnoThoughts Live, absolutely favorite, is I get to do it a couple times throughout the event. And I get to sit back and I find these opportunities. My favorite one last year was at we have a wrap party for all the presenters. And everything else is everybody's invited. But on the last night, I do one wrap party for the presenters just to give them a thank you. And last year, one of these moments was there. We did it at the pool party too, but specifically, I sit back and everyone's talking. And I kind of just, slip away. And as I step back and slip away, I get to just watch. And no one's talking to me. And no one's asking me any questions. And I just get to just watch this thing that in this moment has nothing to do with me. It's not about me. It's not about my ego or ambition or whatever. I just get to watch. And from where I'm sitting or standing, I can see a couple hundred people at any given time. And I can see a couple hundred good humans who all want to go home and help more people. But right now, they're just loving each other. And they're just building each other up, and they're just recharging each other's batteries and appreciating each other. And I take great pride in being part of creating that. It's just such a cool thing. My other favorite part of HypnoThoughts Live is, this is kind of weird, but it's Stephanie Skiba. Like, she's my business partner, she's my friend, but what she's done and like how she's ascended in the last few years from working for me as my assistant to being my equal partner at the conference, and watching her step into that leadership role and watching her take stuff off my plate and make my job more fun and easy, and doing so in a way that doubles down on the culture that she and I have really helped build of gratitude and appreciation and all that. So those are two big things for me that I look forward to every year. Is yes, I get to see my friends. Yes, I get to hug people. Yes, I get to see new presenters come out of their first talk glowing. Elizabeth Nesbitt last year, I was walking somewhere, and Kevin Cole came up to me and said, "Hey, Scott, Elizabeth is the new person who just had their moment, and she had a moment in her talk today." And I heard him, and Kevin's great. And so I was like, "Oh, that's great, Kevin. Congratulations, Elizabeth." And he goes, "No, Scott, shut up." And he gets to do it. It's awesome. And Kevin goes, "No, shut up. You're not hearing me." She crushed it. And her mentors and her idols were in the room, and her idols watched her crush it. And then I turned to her and I was like, "You got that moment?" And she was, tearing up. She won't mind me saying this. She was like, "It was just so much. It's just so overwhelming that I'm speaking at a hypnosis conference, and it happens to be HypnoThoughts Live, and my idols were in the room, and they said I did great." Like to have that happen. These are the things that I look forward to.
Nice. Well, we look forward to you, and we love you, Scott. And we just wanted to let you know that this is all about you now. You're not watching. As a matter of fact, our viewers are watching because we're on your highway, and it's all about you. And that said, not only do we love you, we know our viewers do too. So please give us the information so that we can let them know how to get in touch with you and how to, get connected.
Sure. So htlive.net is HypnoThoughts Live. If you go there, all the information's there. Like I said, we're the largest in the world by a long shot. We are bigger than second, third, and fourth combined. Like it's not close how much bigger the conference is. So if you're looking for variety, if you're looking for welcoming, if you're looking for fun, this is the conference to go to. The other smaller conferences have different benefits, and they're great, and I go and I speak at them, and we should. And HypnoThoughts Live, htlive.net is where to go. Go to our Facebook group as well. And our Facebook group, that's where you'll get all the information. We post videos every week to give updates on what's going on for the conference. And right now we have a community challenge going where we're giving away free room nights. So we give away free rooms, we give away free food, we build culture, and we want to help you in your career. And so go to htlive.net and come to our Facebook group, and also check out HT Live 365. That's all our content from a dozen years. You can download it, you can stream it. We collect and curate content from our presenters year round so that you get information to make you more successful and better.
Nice. Well, we're excited about coming there this year. And
It's
so
going to be awesome.
a question that I think is going to be great for our viewers as well. What if they're married and they have a spouse and their spouse isn't a hypnotist? What about that with all the events and everything? Let's put that right out to the public.
Sure. Yeah, let's talk about that. So historically, we haven't been able to do much. And it's for details that are just logistical and boring, and people would be surprised at the wrinkles that show up there. But what we can do now is have nightlife stuff that the attendees can bring their spouses to and just say, hey, during the day, this room is for presenters and attendees. At night, this is a space where everyone can come socialize. And so during the day, we also have a 2-hour lunch break because we add a bunch of networking and pool time and stuff like that in the middle. So during the day, there's a 2-hour break in the middle. Besides that, your spouse is going to be busy. They're going to be in classes and all that. So you'll go do Vegas for the day. And then when 6 o'clock hits, they're ready and we'll bring the fun. We have pool parties. This year, one of the parties we're doing is what's called Zoom Formal. So you'll be dressed up from the waist up, from the waist down, you wear pajamas or sweatpants. And then it's just kind of fun. And you and your spouse can come hang out, have a drink, dance, meet people, and your spouse can see you talking with the peers that you respect and maybe see you as not some crazy weird hypnotist that is somehow paying bills in their spare time. And they get to see you as the professional that you are in the silly outfits that we like. So that's an idea for spouses.
Man, it sounds great. Sounds great. We're excited. And we were really excited to have you here. Is there anything else that you want to add?
Anything else I want to add? Yeah, well, just one thing, which is if you want to get good at this work, conferences are the secret weapon. Like I've been saying this since before I had one. When I was going to all of them for years, I went to 25 conferences before I even thought about doing one myself. I believe deeply in the amount we gain by just small talking with our colleagues in person, seeing little things and building mentorship opportunities. The biggest thing you can do to transform your career and to help more people is to get to a conference. I'm not saying mine. I'm saying a conference. Go to whichever one is closest to you if you can't afford the biggest. Do whatever you need to do to get in the room with other hypnotists and have it feel real for you. And that would be the number one piece of advice. And if you haven't been to a conference in a while, come back, get the rust off, get the community going, and enjoy it again. So that would be my number one piece of advice to anybody in the industry.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Hey, Scott, you got anything you want to throw in?
And thank you so much for being here, Scott. We really, really appreciate you.
It's absolutely my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
The pleasures are ours, and we definitely appreciate you. And thank you so much for allowing us to travel down your magical psyche highway. And for our viewers out there, we thank you for coming again, and thank you for being with us on this trip. If you like us, give us a thumbs up. If you think we're assholes, give us the thumbs down. Just tell us. We don't care. Comment, share, put it out there. Follow us next week, and we're so glad to have you here. And thanks again. Scott, it's been a pleasure driving down your magical psyche highway. We'll see you guys around. Thank you.
A great trip it was.
Wow, what a trip. Thanks for taking that journey with us today. Please like us, share us, and enlighten us with your views of the topics we drove into today. We appreciate you and love reading your comments. Thanks again, and we hope to see you back on the bus next week. That's right.